You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. We had two sold out live podcast shows for Talkville last week and still buzzing. The crowd was insane.
Speaking of buzzing, I'll turn this light on.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. That's nice. We got the Inside of You light on now. Ryan, you had fun. You were a bit of a rock star.
I had fun. I wasn't sure what to expect, and it was cool.
It exceeded all expectations.
There was a warm reception.
Yeah.
Which I didn't expect. So it was nice.
Thank you guys for joining us and supporting that podcast. And thank you for supporting this podcast. If you're new to this, if you're here for Kevin Smith and you enjoy the podcast, hey, if you really enjoy it, I ask you to follow us on our handles are at Inside of You Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, at Inside of You Pod on the Twitter. You can go to my Instagram at the Michael Rosenbaum in the link tree for cameos, the Inside of You online store where you can get Lexmas scripts signed by me, lunch boxes, Smallville lunch boxes signed by me, tons of stuff. There's so much cool merch. Also sunspin.com for my band. There's cool tumblers and hats, and you can support that. We're doing another Stage It, which isn't listed yet, but it's I can't speak today, but it is July 20th. We're going to do that. We're going to do a show at 5:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we're going to do a virtual show, and that's fun. There's Zooms and stuff. Tom and I will be doing the Washington State Con, which is exciting. We're going to do a Smallville Nights, so make sure you get tickets to that on my link tree at the Michael Rosenbaum. And thank you to all my patrons who really support this show and support Talkville and keep the show going. Without you guys, I don't know what I'd do. But if you want to join and give back to the podcast for some entertainment, go to patreon.com/insideofyou, patreon.com/insideofyou. And, last but not least, my new product, Rosie's Puppy Fresh Breath, is out. So if your dog has bad breath, you just put a couple of drops in your dog's water, boom, tasteless, odorless. Your dog doesn't know it. It's drinking water, and all of a sudden the breath is good. So you can get that. The QR code's there. It's on Amazon, Rosie's Puppy Fresh Breath. And you can pre-order my book, which is The Talented Farter, which is on Amazon pre-order, which comes out in October. It is a sound book of farts. They are real farts. They are my farts. And it is a great book. Simon & Schuster's putting it out. And just a lot of groovy stuff going on. And we've got a great guest today. Ryan, Kevin Smith is back.
It was good. It was cool to have him here because last time he was over Zoom.
He's such a great personality, and having him here was, for me, it was electric. It was just like bouncing off each other, and he's just full of knowledge and full of honesty. Mm-hmm. And I would say things about Rotten Tomatoes and like how I don't like them. And he's a positive guy, and maybe that's through experience and just doing it so long and so much that he has a different perspective of how to deal with things and how to take things and just try to make things that he loves and go with that. And it's the process, and it's making something. And I like Kevin a lot.
I think it's just he has perspective on things.
He does.
It's just the act of having perspective.
Yeah.
Which is very good.
It is. And I think I have perspective on some things, but after listening to him, I found new perspective.
Yeah.
Perspective of seeing through other people's perspective and kind of grasping at certain things that I just admire or gravitate towards. You know what I mean?
I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great podcast today. I think you're going to really love Kevin Smith, having him here at the house. And we talk about a lot of his new projects and everything he's doing. I hope someday he'll put me in something because I'd love to work with Kevin. He just seems like such a great guy to work with. And again, thank you for coming to the sold out Talkville podcast shows at the Bourbon Room. It was crazy. And also don't forget on the link tree, the New Jersey it's a Smallville con, the first time ever. You got to get tickets now. It's in New Jersey. It's in October, plenty of time. Come see me and Tom. It's a Smallville event. There's going to be a lot of guest stars and, folks from the show. And maybe Ryan will come. Who knows?
Maybe I will.
Maybe you'll be my guest.
Maybe I will.
Maybe you will. That'd be fun.
Yeah. I loved it.
I think you should maybe come to a con and just I'll take care of your flight and your hotel and You'll just go there and
there's a lot of the country I still have yet to see.
yeah, you just hang out in New Jersey for a weekend with me and Tom.
Yeah, Jersey.
Have dinner, walk around, look at shit, and go, okay, I don't ever want to do this again, or I loved it. Meet all the other actors that you've been watching on Smallville for the last. It'd be probably weird for you.
That would be strange, but it'd be cool. I feel like I know them just because I know you and Tom now.
Yeah.
I feel like I already should know them. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I feel like they're coworkers.
They're coworkers. Yes. They are coworkers of yours. Just go up to Chris and say, hey, we're coworkers. I don't know who the hell you are.
Yeah. She knows.
Yeah. So anyway, look.
I hope.
What?
I hope. No, I said I hope.
Yes, she'll love you. She's a sweet, sweet girl. All right, let's get into it. Let's get inside of Kevin Smith.
It's my point of view. You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum was not recorded in front of a live studio audience.
I'm very presentational. So when I begin a podcast, there's a, hey man, fucking blah, blah, blah.
Oh yeah.
Now, that is how I fuck as well. I'm very presentational.
I'm about to go in.
Yeah, you just did something real subtle, like fucking all of a sudden we were fucking. And I was like, oh shit, I didn't even realize I was that seduced. Me, I'm the other guy who's like, oh my God, we're going to have some fucking tonight. Let me tell you what the lineup includes, man. Some licking, some dicking. It's going to be fantastic.
Ladies and gentlemen, live from Los Angeles, California, director, writer, producer, actor, author.
I'll take all of that. I love all the titles.
Kevin Smith.
But more importantly, don't you go like, hey man, this is fucking Rosie and I'm inside of you. Or what?
I have an intro. We do an intro later. And we talk about like all the shit.
That's where you say.
And then we say, and let's get inside.
So the show has already begun.
Right. So let's get inside Kevin Smith. But whatever we do is fine. This right here.
Now I'm showing my bias, right? Because I assume the show begins with me, but no. It begins with you.
It begins with me and it ends with me.
Yes.
I guess you're right.
What you could tell me, Michael, is like, hey, you're not directing this. Just be a guest, Kev.
Again, is that hard for you, by the way?
Stay in your lane.
Do you like? Yeah, it is probably hard that you're always seeing like, this angle. I want to do this.
Yeah, not at all. Like I could go to a movie and enjoy it, and I'm never like, I could have done that better. Not one.
Really?
Never. Oh my God. When I go to a movie theater and it's not one of my things, I devolve right back into fan. And I don't mean devolve like because that's a lower life form. I started as a fan. A film fan who aggregated toward making films. I'll finish as a fan. I've remained a fan all throughout, right? So I started as a fan, remained a fan, and one day they're not going to let me do this anymore, or my body won't let me do it anymore, or whatever. And so I'll finish as a fan as well. So for me, I watch a movie, never once do I sit there and go like, could have done this and I would have done that better.
Do you still say bad? That's terrible. This is terrible.
Never.
You don't,
oh my God.
You never watch a movie and go, that's fucking terrible. I just wasted my money.
No, I'll get out before then. Because chances are I'm not in a theater when this is happening. And if I am in a theater when it's happening, chances are I own the movie theater. Like I own Smiley Castle Cinemas, my movie theater in Jersey.
Right.
So that's where I get to plug. That's where I get to see movies for free, more or less. So if I ain't into it, it's just like streaming at home where I'm like, oh, I'll pause and I'll move on to things. And the difference between this iteration of Kevin Smith at age 53 and the one that most people met at the beginning of my career when I was, say, 23, 24, when Clerks happened, is that back then I would have told you all the movies that I hate and here are the reasons why they suck and whatnot. And you would never hear that from me today. You'll never hear me say, what's the point, man? Life is too short. I almost died of a heart attack 6 years ago. And then last year I lost my fucking mind. So broke my heart, broke my fucking brain. Any minute now I can like leave this place. I don't want to spend any fucking seconds going, you know what sucks? Instead, I'll tell you, I will spend hours telling you about what I love. That's a better use of my time, your time.
That's healthy.
If you're looking for negativity, like you don't need me. You can find it like on the internet for free.
Well, here's the thing. When I watch a movie, so we have a horror movie group. And it's a bunch of us that watch only horror movies on Tuesday nights at my house.
Are you serious?
And
can I ask you a question? What is it like just having friends and doing a thing? You don't shoot that or nothing? That's just like what you do for fun?
No, and it's so funny because we have a Rosenbaum rating system. So it's 3 roses, 2 roses, 1 rose, and John Heater is in. So it's a heater is right down the middle, and then 1
And that's
bomb,
the boy
2
who
bomb,
was
3
in
bomb.
he was in
Napoleon Dynamite.
Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes, and so
Name drop a little more. Who else is in
But
this
it's
group?
funny because
I want to know what other celebrities are in this
Not-
group. I just spoke to 5th and 6th graders at my movie theater the other morning, and the talk after 45 minutes devolved into who's the most famous person you ever met. And I
I'm
really
gonna ask
like
you that.
had an existential moment going like, I've never met anybody important like a president, but I don't know if you consider politicians important or not. And I found out what 5th and 6th graders in the real
What?
world. You want to know who they wanted to, have you met this one? Because I told them, I said, look, I work with Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez, Matt Damon. I said, I work with both Will Smith and Chris Rock, and neither of them smacked each other. I was like, I've worked with some, so I felt like I had a pretty healthy list. Will Smith was the name they seemed most impressed by and stuff.
Wow.
But then they started asking me like, have you met Jack Black? I was like, I did meet Jack Black. They're like, oh. Dua Lipa they want? Lipa or Lipa? Lipa. Dua Lipa.
I know
Lipa.
who you're talking about.
The one that really surprised me is like, have you met Ice Spice? And I'm like, I think Ice Spice just happened. Like she's happening as we speak. Like I saw her on SNL. That's the only way I'm familiar with this artist. I said, but suddenly I wanted to have a discussion with a 10-year-old about like, why would I meet Ice Spice this early in her career? And I'm sure they'd be like, look, I was just throwing names out. Who else? Tom Brady, they wanted to know if I met. I said no. They wanted to know if I met Doja Cat, Beyonce.
And all these were no's.
Of the ones I mentioned, yeah, those were no's. But I did blow their fucking preteen doors off. Who do you think is the most famous person in the world to 10, 11-year-old?
Oof, that's tough. You're asking me. I'm stuck in like 85.
Me too. So I'd say Lex Luthor.
Exactly. I don't know that answer.
Think.
Oh, Taylor Swift.
Bang. See? Look at you. You didn't even require like
Prompting.
fucking Watson.
Right.
Like you're Sherlock by yourself. You
you
fucking
believe it?
fire the other guy. It's all fucking Cumberbatch.
I mean, Benedict.
So
Yeah.
wait, where were we?
But that was the famous person was Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. So they're like, what about Taylor Swift? And I was like, well, I said, years ago, I got thrown off an airplane for being too heavy, too fat to fly. And this was like, some of these cats weren't even born when this shit happened. So I was like, I couldn't fly. I could fly. So I didn't want to because there was a bounty on my head. Paparazzi, I saw on a paparazzi website, if you can get a picture of Kevin Smith at an airport, it was like almost $10,000. Double that if he's eating at the airport and shit. So I was like, I ain't going
Are you
near an airport.
serious?
This
This is true.
This is a true story. So I was like, I'm not going near the airport. I tell the kids, I said, I had to find different ways to get to the gigs. I do a lot of live gigs. I said, so I wound up renting a bus. And it was so fun. It was like being the Partridge Family, but just one. And I said, this would work for me. And I said, and one of the kids was like John Madden. I was like, well, I guess, yes. I'd heard that he also had a bus. I said, but I bought a bus. And when I was buying the bus, I bought it from this state down south. And the man who sold it to me, the older gentleman, was just like, you know whose bus this is? And I was like, should I not do the voice? I don't know anymore.
Do it.
Can you get away with a
I
southern
think you
voice,
can.
or is that considered?
I think you can get away
I know
with
it's
the
a
voice.
very divisive year, and I don't want to add any more to that
Oh,
and have people
God,
be like, there he
please.
is doing the voice.
We're turning a corner.
Just know that he was a southern man and a gentleman. And so I'm not going to do the voice. So he was like, you know who's.
Let me do the voice. You know who this van belongs to?
That's better. Can I? All right,
Do you
let's
know
say
who
we're
this-
not doing him. Now we're just doing a sketch.
All right.
Couple Southerners.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. You know whose bus this is?
Who bus is this?
Oh man, I'm asking you.
But I don't know. I was asking.
But you're the one who knows the answer to who the bus is. I can't answer that question because the interview is you and you telling me about this man who
Wait,
said,
I thought we were doing a sketch.
Oh, we were. I fucked it up.
Oh, for a minute, I thought you bought into the performance so deeply you fell down the rabbit hole. And I was just like, oh my God, this is going to be an amazing interview. I'm going to trick fucking Michael into constantly thinking we're in a different scenario. He said, do you know who owned this bus? I said, no. He goes, Taylor Swift. And this was like back in 2008, 9.
Wow.
So I was like, who's that? I had no clue. And he's like, oh, she's an amazing little kid who sings and she writes her own songs. I was like, oh, and this was her bus? He said, yeah, this is one of her 4 buses. I was like, why does she have 4 buses? He's like, oh, she's huge. She tours the country. She's got a huge entourage. Like one of the buses is just her merchandise and stuff like that. And so when I told the kids that, That's what this is awesome. Right on a podcast. What
Yeah.
a great host. You know, I put mine onto
Mine was on silent
airplane.
always.
I don't think it was, Mike.
I swear to
Clearly,
God.
we heard it was not. But you know what? You do you. And if that's what inside of you is all
It was
about,
actually a sound effect.
interrupting the guest.
It was a sound effect for the retort. No, go ahead.
I love when human shit like that happens.
Yeah, I know.
That's all right. But I really forgot where I was in the story.
No,
so it
Four
was
buses and
bus,
Taylor Swift.
and these kids were like, "What? Can we see it?" And I was like, "Oh, I sold it years ago," and they lost so much interest in me. But yeah, it was fascinating to find out what kids were like. Who've you met? Who've you met?
Yeah.
But to be fair, I do that. I'm 53. I've been in this business 30 years, and I still get like, you know, if somebody's like, "Oh, I worked with them," I'm like, what are they like?
Yeah, I do that all. Well, look around me. I mean, I have posters everywhere of people that I love and would love to meet.
I'm sure I'm not the first, but I mean, look at all this shit. This is a great room, number one. Great house, number
Thank
two.
you.
Number three, oh my God, who knew fucking the WB paid this well? You should see this fucking place, kids. Like, you see this room all the time, but fucking
WB.
outside of here is like gaudy wealth. Think of like Trump's penthouse and like double that.
What?
And that's
You
what
think my
Michael's-
house is gaudy?
No.
No way. It's
No,
class.
It's total class. It's
No,
very
hey,
tastefully appointed.
Yes.
And as you walk around, you, as one should, I feel, in a home, know the homeowner. Walking throughout this house is like walking in your head and heart as you look up on the walls and stuff. So
Thank you.
What I'm sure a guest has brought it up before, and I don't know the cameras go that high, but Michael has a framed article from
God.
People magazine.
Jesus.
The top 50 bachelors.
And I'm still. I wonder what I'd be right now. I'd probably be number 900 on.
No, you're fucking bro. If you're not in the top 50, you're in the top 60. But let's take me back to this moment in time. What year is this?
That is probably 2002.
Are you still in Smalls or no?
Yeah, I just started Smalls.
So this is like year 1 or 2 of
Probably,
Smalls.
and then they wanted to do an article on People and say one of eligible bachelors, and if you look at the picture, it's me drinking a glass of freaking milk.
I mean,
It's kind of embarrassing. but
that's not embarrassing. A glass of milk sends a
I don't
real
even drink
message.
milk.
And number one, yes, he's holding milk. Let's tell him where you're holding the milk, suggestively between your akimbo thighs.
That's true. It's
Look at
between
that
my
picture.
legs.
Yes, it's so
Oh, great. We're gonna have
people-
to get a picture, Ryan.
People knew what they were doing. They were just like, yeah, we're saying he's as wholesome as a glass of milk, but look where that milk is. Drink deep. Got milk, friends? And the probably since it was People in 2002, on the next page was an ad with some famous person.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
You-
with the
no, but
mustache.
right next to you would have been perfectly. Now,
Yeah.
in a world of press,
I love how this has become his interview. And it's great.
well, it's your fault for putting interesting things on your wall. In a world of press that you've received many, and I see you're one time maybe because I clicked on an article about you. You have lived in my algorithm forever, so I know what you're up to at any given
wow.
moment.
You too.
In case I don't follow them, but I do follow you. I follow them since they put music on my phone and I didn't want it. You too. No, that's a bad dad pun, but I'm a dad. So you, with the show, which I've been on before, but
Yeah.
via Zoom.
Yeah.
Number one, I've met people in real life who gave me artwork posters based on the show that I was in. All the guests you had and me and Jay were there as well. But in my algorithm, in my news feed, I've always see articles written about the guests you have and the people and the things you talk about. So you're doing well.
You know what?
You're penetrating.
I've
as
said
they
this a
say.
million-
Maybe not penetrating like,
That
back in the
picture.
top
Yeah,
50
I
Bachelor
know,
days.
I know. So let me ask you something. What the bus? Let me call. No. So here's the thing. I
Yes.
started out doing this for probably all the wrong reasons. Somebody said you have a good voice. You know people. You'll make some money. None of that was true, except maybe I had a decent voice.
Rose, the wrong
But-
reasons is like I started out doing this because I wanted to manipulate people and fucking
But I'm being
steal
honest.
their
No,
souls.
but I thought I would make some money and it would be fun.
Right.
And then I realized nobody cares until I started being vulnerable and talking about my life and dysfunction and mental health.
Yeah.
But that was subconscious. That just came out. I was just like, I'm just going to throw shit out there.
Right.
And then people started to attract people and people started to, gravitate towards the podcast. But, you're only as good as your guest. If you have a good guest who talks about like you, who opens up, who tells, because people don't want to hear celebrity talk per se. They want to hear, they kind of want to get behind the curtain like a fly on the wall. And like, I almost feel like I'm Chris Farley in those interviews on SNL where he goes, "Oh, Paul McCartney, you're awesome. Oh, what was it like being a Beatle?" You know, it's sort of like me.
Remember that time?
Yeah, remember
when
the
you
time?
were? That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and nobody funny than him. But let me get into you real quick because
Yeah.
I love this.
Get in.
You were
get
telling me-
inside of.
I'm gonna
me,
get inside of you, but you know,
as
you
the
talk,
brand says.
But you talk about like you got kicked off a plane, and you were,
Yeah.
you know, and we won't talk about
Humiliating trauma.
the weight stuff. But you look so great now. You look
So
like
kind.
you're happy, you're healthy.
Still never getting in the top 50 bachelors.
Yeah, I don't know
primarily
about
because
that.
I've been married for
Because
25
you're married
years.
for 25 years.
But still.
But
Nobody's asked
Do
me to
you
hold
get
milk
ma-
between my fucking spread thighs. I'll
do
tell you that much.
Do you get mad that people my friends say they see you hike every day? You're
I do.
constantly doing it. And do you get mad that all of a sudden Ozempic comes out and now everyone's on got Ozempic guys and losing all this weight?
What I get mad is apparently I'm being spied on by your fucking friends and they report it back to you like we're fucking dating and shit, or that we broke up and fucking like, you know what he's up to now.
Saw Kevin Smith again. He's there every day.
No, what I get mad about is I got to fucking hike running at all, which I started doing that back after the heart attack, and you know, it was beneficial, but I hate exercise. You know, some people are
hate
like,
it.
I love fucking getting out there and I fucking like work it out and I sweat and I think and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'd much rather just stay home.
Why
watch
do you
TV.
hate it?
I don't like physical exertion. Like, I don't like getting sweaty. I don't like,
Your heart rate going up.
yeah. And like I've spoken about for years, and most people are like, we didn't want to hear it, but like, I'm the guy, I lay down and get fucked. I'm not a fucker. Like, my wife rides me. I you know, for years since I was the larger
You're a
of the
bottom.
two of us, utter bottom, you know, and it's up to her back in the day when I was heavy to manage to fucking balance and stay on top and stuff.
She
Much
doesn't
easier
ever
now.
say switch.
God bless her. No. 25 years. She's, yeah, every once in a while, she's like, it'd be nice if you got on top. I was like, yeah, it'd be nice, bud. And then we move
Be
on.
nice, but I ain't
I was
going
like, it
to.
ain't broke, don't fix it. This is the way it works, and here we go. So yeah, I mean, not only I'm a bottom in fucking bed, but I'm like total bottom in life as well. I do tend to top from the bottom, but I'm such a people pleaser, such a codependent fucker that it's like you can get away with so much with me. It's shocking to me that I haven't been scammed more or taken more advantage of. I have not, I think, only because I don't really spend a lot of time out in the world. I'm on a stage or I'm making a thing or I'm at home or something like that. But I'm so like fucking gullible and such like a bleeding fucking heart at all times that I'm pretty easy target.
Yeah.
So this is that my camera? Are you looking for money, kids? Do you want to bilk a one-time millionaire out of whatever he has left from his Jay and Silent Bob dynasty and fortune?
How many?
Play me like a fiddle.
Inside of You is brought to you by Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. I can't emphasize how important Rocket Money is to me and will be to you. You will just save money with Rocket Money. Ryan here.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, tell them what happened.
I checked. Well, I downloaded Rocket Money and immediately they were like, hey, here's a subscription that you're not really using. Do you want us to cancel it for you? Like, yes, please.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
that's that. It's that easy on all these apps and all these streamers. You know, you want to see a series, and only this one in particular has it. So you sign up to it, and you go, okay, I'll pay $9.99 a month, but I'll cancel it. But you forget to cancel it, and then all of a sudden, 6 months later, you owe $60.
Mm-hmm.
And these add the hell up. And this is what Rocket Money does. They come in and they help you. I have full control with Rocket Money over my subscriptions and a clear view of my expenses. I can see all of my subscriptions in one place. And if I see something I don't want, Rocket Money can help me cancel it with a few taps. I love how the dashboard shows me this month's spending compared to last month. I can clearly see my spending habits. Plus, they'll help me create a custom budget and keep my spending on track.
Rocket Money will even try to negotiate lowering your bills for you by up to 20%. All you have to do is submit a picture of your bill and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. They'll deal with the customer service for you.
Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. All right, look, stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going
to rocketmoney.com/inside. That's rocketmoney.com/inside. rocketmoney.com/inside. You ever kiss someone in the morning and you wish you hadn't? It's a real turnoff. Bad breath, that is. And that goes for everyone. Yes, I created a product called Rosie's Puppy Fresh Breath. Just one full cap in your dog's water. And wow, it's odorless, tasteless. You'll be kissing your dogs all day.
My breath is delicious.
Yeah, mine too. It's awesome.
Rosie's Puppy Fresh Breath. Get it on Amazon today. How many times have you thought in your lifetime of quitting the business?
I thought you just meant in
quitting,
general. I was like,
quitting directing.
489,000.
No, but I know you thought
Quitting the business?
Yeah.
There was one point where I was talking about retiring after Red State because I saw Steven Soderbergh talk about retiring. I was like, that's a fucking possibility. Like nobody ever said that. Like, oh my God, yeah, I guess you could just like stop and be like, that's something that I used to do. So I became kind of enamored of that idea, and retired. I took 3 years off essentially. I thought I was just like done, but then doing a podcast with Scott Mosier, my friend who I did some podcasts with, and he produced the movies and stuff.
Yeah.
We did an episode called The Walrus and the Carpenter, episode 259. And that was where Tusk came from.
Right.
And so then I was like, well, I'm going to write this as a podcast and write this podcast as a script. And then suddenly I was like, you know, nobody's going to make this but me. I guess I'm back. And so I came back to Tusk, had such a blast doing it that I was like, well, maybe this is how you survive in this business. Just make the shit you want to make. And that means like, you know, I don't have the luxury of just telling the world, I want to do this. And the world's like, okay. Generally, it means that you have to modify your expectations. The best piece of advice I can give anybody in this life, let alone young creatives, is modify your expectations. Nothing wrong with that. You know, a lot of people in this business are like, you can't compromise. You got a vision. As a director, I'm supposed to talk about my vision and how, like, you know, we have to pursue that to the ends. Justify the ends and telling the story. I don't fucking subscribe to that by any stretch of the imagination. I'm easy to work with because I know how to be pliable. Like if somebody's giving you money to make a movie, you can't be like, hey, fuck you, man. I got my story to tell. I got my vision. Got to hear them out. If it works, you adapt that into what you're doing. If you can't, then you make your case and, you know, hope that maybe you could accommodate somewhere down the line. You know, and a lot of folks in my line of work would be like, you can't ever fucking compromise. Once you got the money, fuck them all. I don't feel that way, man. Especially because like my job is so fucking goofy, which is if I was if I could self-express in another way, it'd be so much cheaper. Like if I was a singer, I'd open up my mouth and you'd hear what I was singing and you'd know how I felt. If I was a painter, I'd take that blank canvas, throw some color on it, and there would be my self-expression. But I chose directing, which is like the dumbest form of self-expression, where you say things like, I need to self-express. Give me $25 million and Ben Affleck, or I can't do the job. So you find different ways to kind of, ameliorate over time.
Yeah.
You
that
find
means to
ways
become better.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, truly.
Yes.
Ultimately it does.
Yes.
And so some people hear this and they're like, you can't compromise. You can't bend. If you bend, that's when they get you. It's not true at all, man. It's not about bending. It's not about compromise. It's about modifying expectations. Case in point, I'm married to a beautiful woman 25 years now and shit. And I guarantee you when she was in fucking high school and college, banging way fucking better looking dudes than me, she was not going like, man, I hope I marry a fucking dude who wears hockey jerseys and weighs 330 fucking pounds one day. But we met, she fell in love with me, and she was like, you know what? Not what I was looking for, but I will modify my expectations.
Wow.
And because of that, we've been together
Good
like 25
analogy.
years. Thank you.
Well, let me
Thank
ask you this. If you look at your career, are you able to step back now and go, I am proud of everything I've done.
Yeah.
I'm proud that I did all this. And when you say having no expectations, do you go into things thinking, I'm not thinking about how successful it is. I'm thinking about I want to do this. I want to tell a story.
As long as I could justify its existence and cost, then I'll feel okay. Because it's a weird job where you ask people for money so you can tell a made up story. So I learned early on. I was raised Catholic, so I carry a fucking huge cross. And when it comes to like borrowing money to make a movie, that cross like don't go away. I've never reached a point where I'm like, well, that's just how we do it in this business. As It's fucking millions of dollars. Like, that's what's nuts, man. Is like two things I always say, like after I've accomplished a thing, good or bad, whether it's been successful rather or unsuccessful. But these words tend to be more effective when something's been unsuccessful. First thing I say is, oh, you wanted this. Like, you wanted this so bad that you willed this into existence. You convinced people to spend millions of dollars to tell your story. You can't back off it now just because people didn't receive it the way you want. That wasn't part of the deal. You wanted to make the fucking thing.
Wow.
You wanted this, stand by it. And then the other thing I always say
That's
is,
awesome.
what was the alternative? Like, if I didn't do it, what was the alternative? I'm a person who knows how to do the thing, has done the thing professionally many times and whatnot, and knows exactly how to get it accomplished. And if I don't do it, it lives in me like
Emptiness.
some form of cancer.
Yeah.
Really. Like, it just eats at you, knowing like, oh my God, I could have and I didn't and whatnot. Wasted opportunity. That's where regret is. Some people have asked me, you regret any of the movies you made? No, I regret not the movies I made, but the movies I was too scared to make, or the movies that I didn't
What
do.
movie were you too scared to make? That you can say.
For a while, like Red State, man. Red State, which was a flick I made years ago, and then I took up to Sundance, and then we distributed it. Like, I was like, I'm going to take this movie out on tour. And it kind of created the model by which, like, I've lived since then. Make a flick and then take it out on the road and play it like a theatrical performance, you know, to like 1,500, 2,000 seaters. And that becomes like a concert. It's less a movie and more like a concert experience. So I have like ways to kind of like, you know, make sure that like whatever's being put out is going to come back, because tough to live with like, oh my God, I got them to give me $3 million and fucking like, it just, and it was yoga hosers. Fuck. Like, you know, that I carry that shit like herpes and whatnot. Nobody remembers the failure of a movie, a book, anything like the creator of that material. Doesn't matter what happens to it over time. Case in point, Mallrats came out in 1995, died a horrible fucking death. Cost $5 million to make, made $2 million at the box office. Every critic shit in its mouth and whatnot. It was the joke movie of mine. It was my second movie. It solidified the
A lot
idea
of people like that movie.
of a sophomore slump. 10 years after that movie died, fucking, because people had seen it on cable and fucking VHS and DVD, like people didn't see the movie or have the same experience with the movie I did. People would be like, come up to me and say, oh, I love Mallrats. And my go-to joke is always like, great, where were you when it happened? We could have used your help. And they're like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, that movie flopped when it came out. And like, no, that can't be true. I own it on DVD. And I'm like, well, those two things don't necessarily equate to the same thing.
Yeah.
And then you realize nobody remembers except the filmmaker. I'm the only one that remembers like we made 2.1 million. That's not what people remember. What people remember is like, oh, I watched it with my boys when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it on my first date with the woman who I eventually married. Shit like that.
That makes you feel good.
Oh, that makes me feel good. So to answer the question you put forward first, yeah, I look back at the career of Kevin Smith and like, I don't always talk about him as in the Royal or whatever the fuck, but to talk about the career of the guy that I play from time to time.
Well, I mean, it's legendary. What you did, no one was doing.
That, well, you're very kind.
I mean, Slacker gave you the idea. You
Yes.
watched Richard Linklater's Slacker.
Yeah,
and you were like,
can't see it. It can't be it unless you see it. And I saw it.
yeah.
Richard Linklater doing a thing that seemed like I could get close to that.
And that was it. That the idea happened and you did what I always wonder. I mean,
But I will say this, legendary is very kind, but I don't think it's legendary for the same reason that you think it's legendary. I think what's going to be legendary for me about my career is no one is ever going to bother to try to duplicate it. Like nobody's ever going to be like, well, I'm going to do what Kevin Smith did.
I'm going to take out all my money.
No, it's not
even that.
It's just the career spans 30 years and starts with like this Cinderella story of a movie, like a punk rock movie that just captured imaginations at the right time, said the right thing at the right time. If I made it a year before, a year later, nothing fucking happens. And then going like, oh, I'm going to write comic books. Oh, I'm going to start doing podcasting. Oh, I'm going to fucking talk to the audience, engage with the audience early on. These are all things that like I was doing when everyone else was going like, why would you waste time on the internet and stuff like that? So I was finding a different way to engage with the audience beyond the obvious and beyond how we started the conversation, i.e. me being a filmmaker. Because as a filmmaker, I get judged against other filmmakers. If I'm a director, they go like, well, you're no Martin Scorsese. But I became Kevin Smith professionally. At that point, who are they going to hold me against? Like, well, you are him. You know what I'm saying? So some people are like, awesome. The artist should disappear and the work should speak for itself. And I agree with that on some levels, but I also feel you get to a place as an artist, if you're lucky enough, like where I've had 3 decades of this fucking shit, where you could just start playing variations now. Like the thing you came to accomplish, you did. So you're like, all right, well, let me just see if I can try this now, if I could try this. And somewhere along the way, it became less important for me to be identified as one thing, director Kevin Smith, which, oh my God, I wanted that more than anything else when I was a kid. But suddenly it became more important to be identified as like, oh, that's that Kevin Smith. Like he does these things. And the further I went and the longer the tail got, the more interesting and weird and stupid the career got. And I remember, this is like so crazy, man, but like this means the world to me. And I've never met the guy, but like we're talking fucking a decade or more ago, Aaron Eckhart, the actor, was on a podcast. And it was after like Dark Knight. And he said, he was talking about something. And then out of nowhere, he goes, like Kevin Smith, he just does whatever he wants. Like that's the career I want. And I was like, is that what it looks like? Like, is that how it's perceived, that I just do whatever I want? I was like, fuck. And then I thought about it and I was like, Aaron Eckhart's right. Like I do just kind of do whatever I want. It is kind of an ideal career. Now, I've never been one of the top 50 bachelors. Damn it. I will never be considered one of the top 50 directors and stuff in terms of pure craft. But I've notched a place in cinema history because of 100%. Clerks being just a magic trick. Clerks is barely a movie. It is, motherfuckers at a party, he's like, come here. And they pull a quarter from behind your ear. You're like, that's fucked up. That's all Clerks is. It's a little ear magic trick. And people go, oh my God, that's cool. You can do it forever. It don't fucking matter, man. Like, don't matter if people have seen you do the trick before. Right. You whip it out. They're like, oh, I like that fucking trick. And for years I was like, what is it? Like, why do people like the movies? Is it black and white? Is it because like it's Jersey? What is it? And then it took me about 20 years of, this is its 30th anniversary this year, the 30th anniversary of Clerks. Congrats. 30th anniversary of Jane, Silent Bob. I think what it comes down to is this simple. That movie is about what it's like to have a shitty job. And literally everybody, except people who inherit, have a shitty job sooner or later. So even if you've never worked at a convenience store, you can be like, oh, I remember being at this job and it was like that because me and my friend would sit around and talk. Anything to fucking not think about what you're doing and stuff. Because of that, the journey begins in such a way that I get to go on off a bunch of different tangents and whatnot. So when I look back periodically, when I stop to see how long the tails become, I am satisfied, but not enough to stop, because what would I do? Just sit around and be like, well, that was fun.
I did it.
Yeah.
I'm done.
You're never done.
What do you think about, I have a problem with Rotten Tomatoes.
The vegetable itself? Like just put it in the crisper. Like
no.
There's simple hacks.
I do have a crisper
to these fucking problems, Michael.
No,
I know you got a crisper. I came through his kitchen, kids. Fucking who knew that playing Lex Luthor would pay this well? Now I want to see Gene Hackman's place, John Cryer's place.
None will be as cool,
fucking
and friendly and comfortable.
You know what? Not even joking. 100%, he's right.
Comfort.
Like,
it's me.
I'm telling you, it's like being in your big brain, your big heart. But more importantly, for a person like myself, eye candy. Like it's a museum.
Yeah.
And you're the me in question.
I appreciate that. Not many people say that. But what do you think of Rotten Tomatoes? Because every time I look at a movie and it says 90%, and I go, oh, wow. And I go and it's not good at all. I'm talking 90% of the movies we watch on Tuesday nights that have 90%. I could sit here and start spitting out names and I won't. But I'm like, I'm wasting all this money watching these movies that are not 90%, that are not 95. And I think there's something wrong with the system.
Generally, easy fix for that. The fuck are you going to a website for and listening to strangers anyway? Like, you know what you want to see. You see a title, you see a trailer, you know whether you want to see it or not. Don't read anybody else's opinion. What does that matter? That's just noise.
But don't you think that somebody's getting paid by studios?
And Fox owns Rotten Tomatoes, if I remember correctly. They bought it years and years ago.
So something's in the water.
No, I don't think they fuck with the algorithm. I think the critical community likes what it likes.
Well, maybe the critical community needs to wake up.
Look,
get new critics.
I got a movie coming out in a couple months. Let me tell you something. I have nothing but just
Admiration.
just slobbering respect
Adoration
for the critical
critics.
community.
What do you think about movies right now that, most of the times they just go right to streamers, these big movies? Does it upset you? Do you want more movies in the theaters, or do you think there's a bigger audience and so be it?
Nothing about entertainment really upsets me, particularly like how movies are consumed. I started as an independent filmmaker. I'm still an independent filmmaker. I know how difficult it is to get any movie made. Now there are different avenues by which to distribute a movie and have your work seen, far more than when I first entered the business. So there are more tools to be able to make films as well. Films like Clerks and My Story helped, launch a bunch of ships where people are like, well, if this counts as a movie, I want to make a movie too. So, with that comes more people. When I first started filmmaking, there used to be like one of these specious little factoids. It was like, there are more kids in law school than there are lawyers in the world. And then it switched to there are more kids in film school than there are filmmakers in the world, or something like that. Now there are more places to carry all that product. And so you'd imagine like, oh my God, everyone's going to find a home. But it's not necessarily the case. In fact, it's become more competitive because the business is constricting because of the streaming model, where suddenly the audience is like, we lived through a fucking traumatic hopefully once in a 100-year pandemic. And suddenly, we were happy to be able to watch something on TV. And then we realized the comfort of like, well, if I spend a little bit more money, I can watch any movie I want on a big TV in my house, on my couch. I don't have to be in public or anything like that. And slowly people have kind of moved away from the mass cinema going experience. I discovered that by buying a movie theater, by owning a movie theater for the last year and a half. Like, Avatar 2, inarguably one of the biggest movies that opened in the last 2 years and shit. When it opened, it had some sort of ridiculous like $200, $300, $400 million number on its way to $4 billion or whatever. Opening Friday night at Smodcastle Cinemas, 12 tickets. Creed 3, huge movie. Opening Friday night, 6 tickets. 7, but one of them picked the wrong movie and asked for a refund. The opening of The Nun 2, one creepy person sitting by themselves on Friday night watching the movie.
Because they're watching.
Because film exhibitions in the toilet. Because
but I like the theater. I like to go.
Sure, but you know what? Looking around here, are you the type of individual that also likes vinyl? Maybe
I
not.
have vinyl.
Some people are like, hey man, vinyl, I swear by it and shit. Cinema is going to become vinyl, which is like, it's never going away. But you keep looking at what's happening to multiplexes around the country. They're closing their 300-seat venues, their 200-seat venues, and they're putting in those like, couch chairs with the feet that go up and stuff like that. So suddenly
They'll deliver your food to you.
They'll bring food right to you, but you're going from like the mass experience of like 250 to 300 people in a theater to like 50 will sell this theater out because the ticket price has gone up, and hopefully we're going to sell you food and booze as well. That model seems completely fucking untenable. And, I think that's why AMC, big companies like that, they're sweating and they're going like this up and down. The business still hasn't completely righted itself post-pandemic. Yes, Barbenheimer was great for things and whatnot, but there's not a Barbenheimer every week.
No.
And I don't think some of those cats are ever coming back for the theatrical experience, or maybe they'll come back once in a blue moon for something big. I think it's going to probably start being like Broadway. Broadway used to be everything, right? And then now it's like $150, $200 a ticket for the rarefied few who love it, but that's not mass consumption at this point.
This show is sponsored by Betterhelp. Guys, listen, we've talked about mental health and improving your health. And, I think the stigma is going away with therapy, and it has helped me immensely. It's helped Ryan and so many of my friends and people around the world. Just talking to someone objectively and about what's going on in your life. Every time I get on, I think, what am I going to talk about? And within 20 minutes, I'm like, so glad that I did it.
I don't know.
And Ryan, this year has flown by. I mean, what are we? We're halfway through this year, and
I think it's really important for all of us to celebrate your wins. Sometimes we're just so worried about the problems at hand that we don't celebrate those things that, hey, we're doing okay. We're making it here. And you make adjustments for the rest of the year. And therapy can help you take stock of your progress and set achievable goals for the next 6 months. Therapy is so helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. Therapy truly is for everyone. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime, no additional charge. I think that's the big hang up that people are like, what if I don't like my therapist? What if I don't get along? What if I'm not vibing? You switch. There's no questions asked. That's what's so awesome. It's all online. Take a moment. Visit betterhelp.com/inside today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/inside.
How do you feel when people are saying that the market's oversaturated, TV and movies, it's just all superheroes? You know, back when we were younger, it's like every year you're waiting for the big movie to come out. Now it's every weekend, or do you think that's real?
I think like in Battlestar Galactica, that show, like, this has all happened before, it will all happen again. In the 70s, there's a motion picture called Star Wars that like kicked open the doors for sci-fi movies left and right. And then at a certain point, people were like, nobody wants to watch this sci-fi stuff anymore. And they thinned out and kind of things went back to normal. I've enjoyed the run of comic book movies as a big comic book fan and stuff, as an enthusiast.
What's your favorite?
Of all of them, probably, well, I think Iron Man is a perfect film.
I love that.
I love Endgame as well, and I think it's perfect, but you need a lot of movies for Endgame to make sense. Iron Man, you can go in cold, and it's Star Wars wonderful.
Yeah.
So I've loved this period.
Marvel.
I'm shocked it's gone on as long as it has. I don't think it's ever going to disappear. I think comic book movies like herpes will be with us always.
Another herpes. Two in one conversation.
You watch, the third one's going to be mad. It's going to be right on your lip.
Oh, great.
But I think, people are like, we get it. Look, superhero stories are perfect for the movies because it's 3-act structure and you got a hero and there's a villain and shit. And that's what movies are about. But, I think they're going to have to be more selective in what they put out there.
Do you like 3-hour movies? When every movie's 2.5, 3 hours, do you like that? Don't you miss
I like any 3-hour movie that keeps my attention for 3 hours. But I mean, that's a high bar.
That's hard. Even Oppenheimer, I was a little...
Oppenheimer, look, it won the Oscar. Let's all agree that it was the best picture of the year.
I agree.
My nickname for it, Homework the Movie. It was very, very smart. It was very educational.
Yes.
But God, I hate saying anything because then the internet rips you an asshole. No. But like, I thought that was incredibly well made, and he's a genius and whatnot. But like, I think my favorite movie of the year was Godzilla minus.
I still have to see it.
-1 or 0?
-1.
-1. I'm like, my favorite movie of the year is a movie.
How can it be -0?
That's how I thought it was meant to be profound.
Yeah, Godzilla -0. Is that an integer?
I didn't know I was going to have to do math to go see fucking Godzilla. But I also didn't know that they would make a Godzilla movie so fucking beautiful.
That's what I hear.
That I was like, get the fuck out of the way. My whole life I've been watching these movies, and I'm always like, I hate the human story, man. I wish it would just be like 20 minutes of monsters fighting each other. This is the first time I was like, you know what? Move, lizard. This is compelling what's going on in the foreground with the human characters.
Wow.
It's worth seeing.
All right, I'm going to see it.
Yeah, it's pretty magical.
You have a lot of projects in production. And whenever I look at your IMDb, there's always stuff, script, in production, pre-production, this. Which ones are going to get made, if not all of them?
What a great question.
Which ones are on the fast track?
Let's see.
The 430.
430 movie is done. Today, I just had an MPAA appeals hearing for the rating. They gave us an R rating on a movie that I intended to be PG-13. My argument for the appeals was very much that. I was like, kids, there's 3 things I know how to do in this world, man. I can play foosball really well. I know how to walk 2 German Shepherds on a tandem leash, and I know how to make an R-rated movie. I said, so I know not how to make an R-rated movie as well. That's why I intended to make a PG-13 movie with this. The fact that you guys made it R means that this sweet little paean to youth about 16-year-olds in 1986 who hop from one theater to another, who, yes, make a lot of sex jokes, but no more than any other teen movie, is the equivalent to the Human Centipede. And for those in the audience who don't know what the Human Centipede is, this is a movie where a bunch of people get sewn ass to mouth and shit all the way down. So how on earth are these two movies in the same
What was
category
Superbad?
whatsoever? R.
It was R.
And deservedly so. But
And
we don't even say, you get away with the use of one fuck in a PG-13 movie. We didn't say fuck once. There's no nudity. There's no sex whatsoever. They just said, yeah, but it was just like a lot of innuendo. But I was like, yeah, of course. I was like, but there's no more innuendo than in the average like fucking 8 o'clock sitcom. And they're like, well, it was just like pervasive. I was like, great, then you write that, pervasive innuendo. But I don't see. And they were kind of admitting too, they're like, well, yeah, there's soft R's, there's hard R's, and you're right. We had a hard time coming up with the rating on this. And they were also not 100% committed to it.
Who are these people that do that?
So there's the ratings board, the MPAA.
Does anybody know who they are?
Yeah. And it's not, they were lovely. They weren't
They're
like
lovely.
fucking antagonistic or anything. They just got a job and shit. And their job is to like, hey man, parents get mad about sex. But my thing going into it was like, look, I've been through this process 4 times before. This is my 5th time doing this, my 5th rodeo. Clerks, they gave us an NC-17. I argued it down to an R without having to make a cut. Jersey Girl, fucking befuddlingly, they gave us an R, and I argued that down to a PG-13 without making a cut. Zach and Miri Make a Porno, they gave us an NC-17. I argued that down to an R without making a cut. And then Yoga Hosers, they gave us an R. And when I announced that I was going to appeal it, they gave me a PG-13 because I think they were like, we don't want to fucking hear him again. Just give him his goddamn rating. So that was the last time I did it was back then in maybe 2016 or something like that. This movie I designed completely as a PG-13 and using Jersey Girl, which we received a PG-13 for as a model, as to like, this is the line, you can't go past this. And still they couldn't I was like, look, I know we're never going to figure this out on this phone call, but what you're telling me is like a movie like this can be rated the same as a movie like Human Centipede. Perhaps the system is faulty or at this point, let's be honest, unnecessary.
Yes.
In a world where like any child who you're trying to protect can literally pick up their phone and access Pornhub. Why are you talking about sexual innuendo? Who are we protecting? And there was one guy who was just like, well, like, I'll be honest with you. I have a 16-year-old daughter and it'd be weird to sit next to her and hear the boys talk about jerking off in the movie. And I was like, well, not for me. But, that's a matter of taste. So they're not like horrible people, but like they got a job to do and shit.
It bums you out though.
It is because it's just like, even they were like,
It's not the movie you were making.
No, I made the exact movie I wanted to.
No,
I just don't think it was an R. And so my point to them is like, I've had a career of making R-rated movies, right? So people hear, oh, Kevin Smith made an R-rated movie. They think they pretty much know what to expect. They're going to come into this movie. Nobody fucking curses beyond saying the word shit or asshole. Nobody's naked. There's no fucking sex. There's no violence. People are going to be like befuddled. You're setting them up for a movie that doesn't exist because you don't have a PG-16 rating or something like that. But in a world where it's arbitrary, like why not lean toward the PG-13 that we were going for? So it was 12 people and 7 to 5 voted to uphold the R. So I didn't flip this one, but I was very surprised and not angry that I was one away. One away, I would have split the vote and stuff.
Go back, get a revote.
Nah, I'm all right. Like I thought about it. I don't believe in relitigating. It's like they taught us when I was in the nut house, man. I'm not supposed to say that, but that's what we called it there. The past is where we spend an inordinate amount of our time. We're always in the past. We're always in the future. Very few of us spend time in the present, right? So the past is where depression lies because that's where you relitigate everything. Like, why did I say that? Why did that happen to me? Why did we get in that argument? What the fuck was wrong? Why did I drink? Why did I do this?
And anxiety is the future.
Anxiety is the future, man. When you think about like what's going to happen, fucking what if I don't get that job? What if I don't make more money? You cannot control either of these places. This is what you control, the here and now. And you don't even necessarily control that, but that's the only place that you can maybe exert some minor degree of like, I got this. Like if you're okay in the moment, you're okay. Don't think about, but what about when I wasn't okay? That happened. You can't change that. Yeah, but what happened in the future? I'm not going to be, who knows? You can't write the fucking future. You don't know it. So for all you know, future's going to work out. So don't fret about that. Don't live up there, man. Live right here. We spend so much time in another direction. We lose this.
Yeah.
And then fucking, I'm 53. The older one gets, the more one, starts being like, oh shit, why didn't I? Or, oh fuck. And you start figuring out what's important and shit. So
I know.
be in the moment, kids.
What was your biggest fear when you were younger? Maybe as an aspiring filmmaker. And what's your biggest fear now? How have they changed?
My biggest fear my entire life, I think, was being irrelevant. That's why I do what I do, right? It's like, look at me. It's a version of bringing home a good paper and your mom putting it up on the fridge with a magnet, or being in the local paper for something ridiculous and your mom clipping it out and putting it up on the fridge with a magnet. Clearly, these things happen to me. Desperate to be relevant. I think most people in this business are. They want to be heard. When you're an entertainer, when you're an artist, when you're one of these artsy fartsy types like us, you have this mindset of like, I got this thought and people really should hear it. Most people don't think that way. Normal people don't think that way. Even in the age of the prolific podcast, most people don't really think that their thoughts are worth sharing with others. But people in our world do. We wake up every morning and go like, people have to know what's here and what's here. I got to share this and stuff. So I realized, after doing it for 30 years, like, of course, there are reasons the journey started. A young man who loved movies, who saw Slacker and was like, oh, fuck, maybe I could do this as well. But what was behind that? Never mind seeing Slacker and going, I want to try that as well. What was behind all that? And what's behind all that is fear of being forgotten, fear of being irrelevant, fear of not even being known in the first place. Never mind being a has-been, being a never was, somebody who, life
But you
just
already
didn't know.
are relevant.
Yeah, but that's what got me here. But now that I am, it's a drug. What, you think I'm going to put that down? Like, oh, I had relevancy once. It was nice. This is like Chocobazzi, man. You could pop a new bottle and start drinking. It's an old 70s.
But relevant for what reason?
Because there's a void in me, as I'm sure there are in many of us in this field,
Right here.
that needs filling. It can't be filled by people who have something real to offer. For example, I have a wife. She's amazing. I have a kid. She's amazing. I have a mother. She's amazing.
Dog's
I've got
amazing.
friends. Dog's amazing. And they all fill something. And yet still there's this little guff.
Why do we have this emptiness? Well, I was just talking about it with Ryan here. I was talking about it with Bill. It's like, I feel like I'm successful. I'm doing good things. I'm helping people. I'm writing. I'm all these things. And I go, I still feel like I'm in a rut.
Cursed with ambition.
Yeah. And it drains you. It's like, I just want to be free.
Because there,
Free.
Yeah, fucking, we'll never be free. Because we've tasted the good life. Like, I've walked through your fucking castle.
Oh, it's not a castle. For God's sakes, it's 3,400 square feet.
You can't be free. And this ain't the things you own wind up owning you, but it's not the tchotchkes and shit. It's like you got yourself to a place in life solely based on something that's almost intangible. A motherfucker invents a widget and makes $1 billion. You're like, all right, I guess it makes sense. You fucking have all this because of some indefinable, unquantifiable opinion called talent. Because somebody's like, I think you're fucking talented. And more importantly, you start the journey by being like, I think I'm fucking talented. Somebody agrees. And it's not something like you could point to. It's elusive. It's, they always say like, can't put my finger on it, but they just got that something. There's a reason that
So
fucking
you still
trope
want to show
exists.
that. You still want to.
For me personally?
Yeah.
What would life be like if I had to let that go? I haven't had to let that go for 30 years. And I suspect for as long as you've been doing your thing, you have not had to let it go. What if that was severed from us? I don't know about you, but I don't know how upright I can stand in the winds that would blow at that point, because I'm used to being beloved by strangers, which means I also have to take strangers' hate from time to time. I don't care how much hate I've received online, and I never get it in the real life, in the real world and shit. The amount of affection, deep abiding affection, and I would go so far as to call it love, from utter strangers that I feel on a daily basis, never mind going online to social media. If I just step outside my house and go to a public place, invariably, as I'm sure you're well aware in your life, there's going to be some people who are going to be like, And you know who that happens to in the real world? Fucking nobody. I'm from the East Coast. They don't look at you and smile and point. If they look at you, this usually follows. If they look at you at all, strangers don't make fucking eye contact. We're discouraged from that sort of thing. But I live in a world where I leave the house and someone may stop me and go like, oh my God, can I just tell you how much I love what you do? And then tell me like an insanely moving story about how they tried to kill themselves, but didn't because of some goofy ass movie I made. Oh my God.
That's
to
what
let
fuels
that
you.
go, to let any of that, but all of it. It's
All
the
of it.
gestalt.
It's the
like,
whole thing, right.
It's like having a name like Kevin Smith and making something with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a fucking standard ass lame name and shit. But to be able to have made it like
Michael Rosenbaum.
stop, it pops, man. It's
Rosenbaum.
multiply syllabic.
Okay.
You know, there's a promise in Michael Rosenbaum. It's angelic at first.
And then it gets real Jewish.
And so you got both. You got surf and turf right there.
Surf and turf. And then the very
Kevin Smith says like, here's your driver instructor.
this
Kevin Smith.
Or like Kevin Smith, please come up to aisle 1, please.
Kevin, one of the most universally loathed names on the planet, apparently. So to be able to have taken Kevin Smith and turn it into something that has currency with some people, that'd be tough to let go. But one day I will. I have to. You don't get to hold on to well, maybe you do if you die. Maybe I'll die on a movie set. I want to go out like Robert Altman.
No.
Yes, motherfucker went up, toes up on a movie set. He was making a movie.
And he was in his 80s.
Yes.
Oh, good. Then
And he
that's okay.
smokes weed all the time. Like Robert, by all fucking reports, Robert Altman, very happy individual. And died doing what he loved. Come on, in his 80s.
Yeah.
Join
Well,
me.
you're right.
You and me, we got to fucking like
We still have work to
Kevorkian
do.
this shit.
We have work to do.
Yes, because we're cursed with
Is
ambition.
there something you've always wanted to do that you just haven't been able to do? Is there some movie out there? Is there some script? Is there some story?
No, but not a movie, not a story. But there's a thing I've not been able to do. I don't think I'll ever be able to do it. And it was not a goal coming in, but it's also predicated on old data. I always wanted to make a movie that made $100 million. Because when I was a kid, that was fucking huge. But when I've got into film, I wanted to make indie film. Slacker is not a movie that made $100 million, so that was not a model for me. But when Pulp Fiction made $100 million, and that came out the same, we were trailered on Pulp Fiction, man. So when you went to see Pulp Fiction in one of those 1,000 screens that they were crazy enough to open it on, Clerks was the fucking trailer that was attached to it.
Wow.
When that movie made $100 million, I was like, maybe there is a slim path by which one of these things I do rings that bell. And when I was a kid, it was never a drive. It was just always something in the back. The older I get, the less it matters to me and stuff like that. And honestly, I don't even know if it's possible the way the business is structured and based on the shit I make. But it was never enough to make a movie that was like, well, give me a script. This will make $100 million. It had to very specifically be one of my stupid ideas. So never rang that bell. I'm still here. Maybe it's possible. I doubt it. And if I die and it doesn't happen, I'm not going to be like, what was the point? I'll be like, it all worked out. But that'd still be nice. You got to have a dream. The problem is my curve is ruined because I've had dreams and they've all come true. I whimsy and then I try to bring it to life. It sounds very twee and fucking Wes Anderson, but it's true. I spend my life chasing whimsy. My father used to wake up and be like, what do I have to do today? I wake up and I'm like, what do I want to do today? And I dream about a thing, and then it's my job to make that thing happen in the real world.
And he hated his job. He was a postal worker. He hated it. And you don't want to come home every day going, I hate my job.
No.
As long as you're doing something you love, you're doing something right.
Yes.
How much, look, this flies by. You're so good. It's,
the host,
I'm
my
talking to my
friend.
friend
The host.
Bill.
Yes.
Bill wrote this hilarious, it's not hilarious, but it's a scary movie. It's got some comedy in it, but it's, and it's like, he comes so close to making this thing, and then he needs a name, and then we need to know that name's not going to do. And it's this cyclical thing. And now, of course, it's become harder because the directors, if you're a white director, I mean, and not to say but it's a little hard. It's harder right now. How do young filmmakers actually, because you could sit there and say, shoot it on an iPhone. You could do this and you could do this. And it's easier said than done. But I guess what would the answer be? Maybe it's more ambiguous. Maybe
what is the aim?
The aim?
Tell a story?
To tell a story.
Great. Then, yeah, you got a fucking studio right there next to your hip.
Oh, yeah, the phone.
Yeah. As you said, you were like, oh, shoot it on an iPhone. Yeah, shoot it on an iPhone, motherfucker. Like,
Just make it.
yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Well, is in a world here, this is the sad fucking truth, and I say it everywhere, so this is not revelatory. No help is coming. Nobody wants to help you. Nobody's coming to help you.
I've learned that.
Everyone's in it for themselves, more or less. And
Yeah.
like sometimes you're lucky to find people who are like, hey, I got some time for you, but like no help is ever coming. I get people come up to me. This is one thing that always rubs me the wrong way, where they're like, hey man, help me do my thing. And I was like, I can't. And they're like, I am where you were once, and someone helped you. You got to help me. And you know, I bristle at that because I didn't get help. Like, you know, my mom and dad helped me. And if you got parents, then fucking, you know, you had the help I had and stuff. I didn't ask somebody for money. I put that money on credit cards that weren't even fucking mine and shit, and prayed to God I was going to be held accountable for that money either fucking way and stuff. But this kind of like, hey, you were where I was once. I was like, no, because I literally never went up to somebody and was like, hey, you were where you know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm just going to do it because I didn't believe in myself. I'm still to this day. I really like get embarrassed when I try to engage people in like the work I'm doing because I'm like, it's a Kevin Smith movie, but like we'll have fun doing it and shit like that. I hate bugging people. And so that's always been a part of my matrix. Anyway, back to the point. Make the fucking thing by hook or by crook. Because that way, and make it for you. A lot of people are like, I'm gonna make this thing and it's gonna sell.
Some need a budget.
And it's gonna
some need a budget.
Well, then don't make that one and figure out how to make it for less. You're talking to, you know, modify your expectations.
Yes.
Unfortunately, those of us in the arts have this level of expectation of like, well, somebody's giving me money to make pretend. And it's like, think about that. Think about how amazing that concept is. Yeah, it's not shocking that everybody doesn't fucking bump into somebody who's like, here's a bunch of money, go do your thing. It's fucking, what are the odds that it happens like ever, let alone as much as it does happen? But if you have a thing that's like, yeah, but I need millions to do this, I'm like, great, put it on a shelf until you get that millions and make something that's cheaper, but make a thing, forward momentum. Because if you have something to show, that's better than just like, I got the script. Here, nobody likes to read scripts. Do you like to read scripts?
Hate it.
Everyone hates reading scripts.
Hate it.
So if you're out there and you're like, but I got a great script, you know, that may be the case, but guess what? Nobody likes to read fucking scripts. You know, it's much easier for people to do. Watch something when it's done. It also shows people that you've got the wherewithal and the drive to make a thing. You know, not just like, well, I wrote words, now what? It's like, all right, go shoot the fucking thing. And if people are like, well, I can't afford that. And it's like, well, neither could I, man. When I was a kid, I come from a lower middle class family. My mom would never let us say poor, right? But we were fucking poor. So I got credit cards when they were predatory lending to kids going to like junior college. Like in 1988, 89, 90, as you walked onto the campus of Brookdale Community College, it's fucking 8 to 10 tables of people with like little stuffed animals, thermoses and shit like that, all trying to jam a credit card in your hand. Fill out this application, you get this. Me and my friend Brian Johnson got into a contest when we were at Brookdale. It was like, let's see who could get more credit cards. And so we would apply like all the time and shit. And I had an edge because I worked at RST Video, the video store in the movie. And so I would write in 1990, 91, and 92 that I was the manager of RST Video and I made $50,000 a year, which would be a ridiculous salary at that point. So invariably, the credit card company calls to check, and I'm the only person working at the store, so I would answer and be like, RST Video, they're like, we're doing a credit check on Kevin Smith. I was like, oh, that's my manager. I pay him $50,000 a year. I'm like, okay, thank you. Then I'd get a credit card. So I had a bunch of credit cards sitting in a drawer, and I never touched them because my mom and dad were like, plastic is the devil, cash only and stuff. So I beat Brian in the contest, but I didn't use them for anything. And then, you know, I'd heard an interview that Robert Townsend had done. He made a movie called The Hollywood Shuffle, a wonderful comedy. And he had financed it himself, and he used credit cards partially to do it. And I was like, you can do that sort of thing? And I realized like you can go into a place like Spirit Corp, which was a company in New York where we rented the camera equipment from, where we rented the Steenbeck from, the editing, 6-plate editing deck. They would only take cash. Most other places, you could use a credit card. So I actually had to borrow my parents' own, like their life savings was $3,000. And I needed $3,000 to rent the equipment because we couldn't use a credit card for that. My parents were like, you know what? He didn't go to college. He dropped out. He'll do this and then he'll be a waiter one day. And thank God they were able to do that. That was everything though. Like literally not them going like, we're okay. That was like their bill money and shit like that. It was a pretty cool move, power move. And it worked out in my behalf. So
I could see you get a little emotional thinking about it.
oh my God. You know,
still
my
just
parents, they did it might not have been for the storybook reason of like, we believe in you, Tiger. You know, like I come from a generation where like your parents are like, see that mountain? Never climb it. You'll fucking fall. Let somebody better than you do it and shit like that. So it's not a romantic story of like like I tell my kid from the moment she was fucking able to put thoughts together, like you can do anything you want, man. Anything you want in this world except fly without a jetpack. Other than that, fucking sky's the limit for you and stuff. They didn't say that to us when we were kids. And so even though my father took me to the movies every week, took me out of school at half day on a Wednesday to go see a matinee because it was like $1.50 and shit like that. Never once did my father turn to me and be like, you could do this. You should try this one day. But when the moment came, when somebody else inspired me, I saw Slacker, Richard Linklater Slacker, and I put it together. There was no internet. I started reading everything I could and figuring, I think I can make one of these independent guerrilla films or whatever the fuck. My parents, you know, when I turned to them and I was just like, I never wanted to bother you about this. But I can't rent the equipment on these credit cards. Like I need $1,000 cash and it will be $3,000 by the time this is all over. And my parents were like, whew, and waited heavily and then fucking gave it to me. Made all the difference, man.
Wow.
And the old man,
beautiful.
He got to see my career. He was never really big into the movies I made because they didn't have Clint Eastwood in them. But he appreciated the fact that I would go do Q&A. Like if my old man was alive, he would love this. He's like, oh, I'll just sit there and watch him talk. Because he knew that I became a good talker because he used to buy me comedy albums. Like here's George Carlin, here's Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
And so he could make the connection. He saw it when I was doing Q&A. You could tell he was like, I had something to do with that. He's like, I don't know about the movie shit. I did take him to the movies, but I never once told him he could fucking make one. But I did have something to do with him standing up there talking.
It feels like time just flew by.
It did fly by. I'm so delighted that you were able to pause for me because we were supposed to do this last week.
Dude, anytime. You're a busy man.
And you waited.
I just wanted you to come in.
And then I was the other day, I was like, oh, now I can't be there at 11 because I got the MPA thing. So it was very kind of you to move shit around.
Well, I'm glad after the MPA. Is it MPAA or MPA now?
MPAA.
It is.
I just make it one long
MPA.
MPAA.
But yeah, it's nice for you to come after they turned you down on your rating.
You win some, you lose some. And I've won a lot with them.
You've won a lot in general.
And I came close though. That's the thing. And I'm not like when I'm like, fuck, I was this close, but I was one off, you know. And I there's nothing honestly that I could have said to make the difference. I don't believe. So I'm not like relitigating it. I ended with like, kids, I've been doing this 30 years, man. And like, please don't disillusion me by giving me a rating I don't deserve.
A little bit of your heart.
I think that's how I got to 5. I think somebody was like, I felt guilty out by that.
That's fine.
But I bet you I might have lost 1 or 2 with that too. They're like, I won't be manipulated.
Yeah, that's it. He's done. I love you and I thank you for coming over.
Thank you for
being so inspiring. It really, some of these things really hit home and it makes me want to even be a better person and go out and make stuff and not depend on people and really just go your own way, Fleetwood Mac.
Look at all this. You got this, Lindsey Buckingham. In fact, you got this so much, you're fucking Mick. That's who you are.
Mick Fleetwood, baby. Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me.
That's it. I mean, what else can you say? Great guy, great conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, follow us. Go on my Instagram at the Michael Rosenbaum and the link tree and all that stuff. The Cameo con's coming up, the Smallville con, Rosie's Puppy Fresh, but it's all there. On my link tree. And if you want to become a patron and support the podcast, patreon.com/inside of you. Right now, we're going to just go right into it. These are the top tiers. These are the folks that really give back and support the show so we can keep doing it. I can't emphasize that enough. So I genuinely appreciate it. You know, what's cool is my back's been really, really bad lately.
and I got these injections, and I'm 65, 70% better in my back.
Nice.
I was like hopeless, and we were supposed to do these 1 injections, and the guy was like, I go, let me show you my pain. I just want to make sure we're doing it in the right area. He goes, let's do a facet joint block. We haven't done one of those in a while on you. And I go, okay. So we changed the game right before we're about to go in, and they put you under. And then I woke up and I immediately felt better. And I was like, wait. So it was a blessing. It's amazing when you're hopeless and you're like, I'm just going to be living in pain. That's why you always have to hope that there's something out there that's going to work. So hopefully this works and it lasts a while. It made me happy.
I hope so too.
Yeah, I like that. All right, top tiers. Here we go. Patreon.com/inside of you. Nancy D, Leanne, Kristen, Little Lisa, Yukiko, Jill E, Brian H, Nico P, Robert B, Jason W, Sophie M, Raj C, Jennifer N,
Stacy L, Jamal F. I almost said Jen. F.
Yeah,
That's what that was.
You did.
Because Janelle B is next.
Yes.
Mike E, Eldon Supremo, 99 more, Santiago M, Leanne P, Maddie S, Belinda N, Dave H.
Dave H, Dave Hall. Hello, Michael. It's Dave H. I miss you, Dave. I really miss you. Brad D, Ray Harada, Tabitha T, Tom N, Talia M, Betsy D, Rhiannon C. Let me take a sip of coffee. I don't want to get dry mouth. You know, the cotton mouth.
I know what you mean. Corey K, Dev Nexon, Michelle Elliott.
Dev Nexon, Michelle A. Go ahead.
Yeah. Jeremy C, Mr. M, Eugene and Leah, Salty Ham, Mel S, Chris, Eric H, Oracle, Amanda R, William K, Kevin E, Jor L, Jim and J, Leon J, Luna R, Mike F, Brian L, Jules M, Jessica B,
Kyle F, Kaylee J, Charlene A, Brian A, Marion Louise L, Romeo the Band, Frank B, Jen T, April RM, Randy S, Jen Carolina Girl, Nick W, Stephanie and Evan, Stefan, Charlene A, Don G, Jenny B76, not 8, B. Jenny B7.
Wouldn't it be 867?
Yeah, that's
Jenny.
8675309, Jenny. John, Jennifer R, Tina E, NG Tracy, Tasha S, Keith B, Heather and Greg, who I love. And I love Keith B and Ellie K and Elizabeth L, Ben B, Pierre C, and Nerd Octave. Nerd Octave. And we got some newbies here. Thank you for joining Patreon and supporting this podcast. It means the world to me. And thank you guys. From the Hollywood Hills in Hollywood, California, I am Michael Rosenbaum.
I am Ryan Tejas.
Little wave to the camera. We thank you for being here. We thank you for taking the time to join us every week. And keep making time for us, and we'll make time for you. And be good to yourself. I'll see you next week.